This is the Breville Oracle Touch, and this is Breville's most premium offering in their lineup of espresso machines. And it's their take on an automatic machine, but with more control and arguably better results. And today, I want to talk about it. Who is this for? Why does Breville even make this machine? What is it great for? What is it not so great for? And do I even like it? Now, this video is sponsored by Skillshare, but we're going to talk about them a little later on. And for full disclosure, this device was sent to me from Breville, Canada to test and get my honest thoughts on, so I thought I'd share those thoughts in a video. Now, Breville or Sage, depending on where you're from, have been making premium home appliances for some time now. This is a name I'm sure you've heard before. They build juicers and bluesers, bread makers, and fancy weird things like that. And obviously, they make espresso machines. But creating espresso at home can be like getting in a cockpit of an airplane as an unlicensed or untrained pilot. You know, how do I start? Where's the gas pedal? Why are there so many buttons? How do I eject when I know this will inevitably go terribly wrong? I mean, it can be overwhelming and discouraging for somebody just wanting to make a beverage and not want to learn the full methodology of extraction. And that's where this machine comes in. This machine is Breville's attempt at an autopilot for espresso machines. It's their take on an automatic espresso machine. You see, espresso machines can require hours of research and practice and understanding so that one can accomplish even a mediocre espresso latte or cappuccino at home. You know, first there's learning how to dial in a shot, learning how to properly steam and texture that milk, learning how hard not to press while tamping, understanding both the importance and effects of a coffee grinder, ensuring your water is not only good enough quality to make good coffee, but also not destroy your machine, weighing your doses, timing your shots, learning under and over extraction, practicing latte art to impress, and finally, learning and memorizing recipes to brew with. So let's go over the Oracle Touch, break it all down. It starts up here with the grinder. Now this is a conical burr grinder. Is this the best grinder in the world? No, we'll talk about that a little later, but this is one that you'd find on similar other Breville espresso machines. That can be adjusted by this knob right here. Now when you grind your coffee, it goes into this insert right here. This not only grinds your coffee, but it tamps it too, removing that variable so you don't have to worry about learning how to tamp your coffee. And then once you've ground your coffee, you can remove your portafilter, your 58 millimeter portafilter, by the way. With your recipes, then you can hit brew and it will brew your coffee. Pretty easy. Now this is a dual boiler, so you can actually steam at the same time, which is a huge plus. In fact, the Breville dual boiler, which is a cheaper model to this one, shares a lot of the same specs as the Oracle. The Oracle just being more automated than the Breville dual boiler. The steam one, let's talk about that for a second. Now this is not only just a normal steam wand, a dual boiler steam wand, it's actually fully automated as well. Now you can steam manually as some may want to, but you can also just place the milk pitcher in place, tell the machine how much froth or how much foam you want and the temperature you want your milk, and it does all the work for you. But does it do a good job? Well, we're going to talk about that because it's definitely a big point of interest for this machine. And then obviously this is the Breville Oracle Touch, and so you've got this touchscreen right here. Now on this touchscreen, you can program your favorite settings. Right here you can see I've got Americano and latte, flat white, just straight black espresso, and then you can actually do custom settings as well. So I've called my custom setting the latte. So if I go in here, you can see that I have my brew, my grind, my milk all set up exactly how I want it. Very user friendly. It's very hard to make a mistake on this machine, especially the touchscreen model, because it really does walk you through all the steps. So let's talk about all the things I love and some of the things I don't love. But first, let's brew some coffee. So does it make a good coffee? I mean, yeah, it has everything that you would need to make a good espresso. You've got a grinder that's grinding coffee fresh on demand. It's tamping your coffee very consistently, by the way. And you're brewing your coffee with a beautifully engineered dual boiler. It's got a milk steamer, which, by the way, steams milk incredibly well. In fact, it's something I'd love to see on so many more espresso machines. Now, would I rather steam my own milk? I mean, of course. For me, that's a craft that I desire to learn. It's something that I've mastered over the years, but it's taken me years to do that. And for some people, they just don't want that process. They just want good milk. They just want a coffee that they would get at their cafe. They don't care about the process to get there. And this really enables you to do that. It's a great feature, something that I love to see on many more espresso machines. But this isn't a perfect machine. And so I want to talk about things I like, but also things I don't like. So let's get into that. But before we do, I want to talk about the sponsor of today's video, which is Skillshare. Now, listen guys, Skillshare is an amazing platform with thousands of classes for creatives or you to learn, including on the topic of coffee. And right now I'm still taking this class from Plant to Cup, Brew an Amazing Cup of Coffee from Michael Phillips, the Director of Training at Blue Bottle Coffee. And it's classes like these that really help me and my passion for coffee, but also my knowledge for the craft. There's classes like this one. There's also classes on how to make latte art and all these different designs and everything in between. Now, Skillshare is giving me an offer for all of you, and for the first 1,000 people who click the link in the top of the description are gonna get 1 month of Skillshare for free. Now go on, go start learning, and thank you Skillshare so much for sponsoring this video. So let's talk about things that I love about the Oracle, things I like, things I've grown fond of while using this machine. And the first thing that I gotta mention is its user-friendly experience. Now, for me, I love espresso machines. I understand their language. I understand how they work. For me, I'm an espresso enthusiast, but my wife, she's not. And for her, this was an incredible experience. In fact, my wife thoroughly enjoyed this machine. So much so that she doesn't want anything else on our coffee bar. We'll see how that turns out. But I think this is a fantastic machine for people, like I've already mentioned, who love espresso drinks, but don't care for the process. My wife is a perfect example of that. And then another feature about the Oracle Touch that I love is its Steam one. And quite honestly, it impressed me. The microfoam that it creates, the silky texture of the milk is great. No, it's not perfect, but it is dang near to as perfect as you can get from something that's automated. And I've been incredibly impressed. And honestly, if anybody's watching this that makes espresso machines, any other manufacturers, please consider putting this in your machines. It's amazing. Breville really knows how to make a great appliance. Things like when you remove the water tank, there's storage back here for all of your accessories, a nice touch. Or when the water tray gets full, it tells you, hey, empty me now. Or even little things like if you swivel this little mechanism here. Now this is a pretty heavy machine being a dual boiler, but when you swivel that, you can then move this around your counter pretty easily and then lock it back in place and it's not going anywhere. On the top of the machine here with the press of a button, you can add your water not only here, but on the back of the machine as well, because it is a fairly large water tank. I think it's 84 ounces. So to remove it from the back all the time is not great, but with just a press of a button, you can add your water up top. It's little features that really just make a great experience. Now let's talk about some things I don't love about the Breville Oracle Touch, because it's not a perfect machine. And hear me out to the end of this, because I've pondered a lot of these thoughts over the past few weeks. And the first one of those being this right up here, it's coffee grinder. Now, it's not bad. It's definitely not bad, and it will do the job absolutely fine. But it's also not great, especially for a machine of this price point. I know it's an all-in-one machine with a grinder, and there's only so much you can do with a grinder with an all-in-one setup, but I do understand that Breville has purchased Baratza recently, and so having something like the Baratza Sette 270, their espresso grinder, built into this would be fantastic. Now this is the same grinder you'd find on like the Barista Express or the Barista Pro or other all-in-one Breville machines. And again, not bad, but at this price point, it does leave a little bit to be desired. Maybe that's the enthusiast in me talking, and maybe people won't really care, but espresso really does come down to the quality of the grinder. And so this grinder, in my opinion, might limit the shot quality of this machine. Again, maybe that's just the enthusiast talking in me. The other critique that I have for this machine, again, kind of talked with the grinder, and that's its lack of easy dose control. Out of the box, this comes with a preset dose for your coffee grounds. Now, this isn't a terrible idea. I actually think it's smart in theory that they limit not being able to adjust the doses. So what that'll mean is people have an easier time dialing in because all they have to adjust is grind size. That's it. I like that in theory, but often in my experience, I'm getting 24 grams out of this machine. Now, I think part of that is because it's not tamping incredibly hard. This isn't putting 30 pounds of pressure by any means. So I think it's making up for that lack of tamp pressure with dose. Now, again, the touchscreen isn't perfect. This is a machine that is a few years old at the time of recording. And yeah, the touchscreen can feel a little laggy at times. It's similar to anything you'd experience on any other appliance in your home. By no means is this a bad touchscreen. It is fairly responsive. It can look bad on camera too. Small critique, maybe I'm being a little too critical here. And another thing to add to my list of critiques of this machine, again, not a perfect machine, but so much good. But this one I think maybe a lot of you might relate to, especially watching this channel, as I wish there was more control over an advanced menu. I mean, this has so much potential of being an incredible espresso machine. Things like its pre-infusion, its ramp up in pressure, being able to see all that on a touchscreen would be fantastic. I mean, this is one of the bigger touchscreens that's on an espresso machine other than maybe like the 𝙇𝙞𝙣, and that's a perfect example of what can be done on a touchscreen. Now, I know this is a very different machine, but all the features of the dual boiler are fit inside here. So show them here. Let me adjust the pre-infusion. Let me see the pressure ramping up. Let me see all the finicky things as an espresso enthusiast I'd love to see. Maybe I'm asking for a lot, but even just having an option to be able to pull that up, I feel this machine would just appeal to a wider audience of people, even with its built-in grinder. And then finally, the last thing we need to talk about is its price. And it's fairly expensive. Now, I'll leave links in the description down below so you can see what the price is depending on where you are. But here in Canada, this is almost $4,000. And I think it runs for about $2,700 American, depending on where you are. So no, this isn't cheap. You can find them on sale, but again, this has so many options. And I wouldn't say this is overpriced either. Now, hear me out. This is a dual boiler. You know, this is a dual boiler with a grinder, an automated steamer, and a touchscreen. And if you look at other machines on the market, while some of them are more prosumer in build, this has a lot to offer. So I wouldn't say it's overpriced, but it's definitely not high value either. Unlike its little brother, the dual boiler, known for its great value coming from Breville. But other than the touchscreen, all of these are biased opinions from somebody who lives and breathes espresso. And that's not who Breville made this machine for. They didn't make it for somebody like me. They made it for somebody like Natasha, my wife. She loves espresso, but she doesn't live espresso. Now, if you agree with me in that idea, let me know by clicking that like button down below. When I got this, I was slightly confused. Who is this for? Why not just get a super automatic machine? Why not allow me more control over some of these variables? But after using it for a while now, I've come to realize that this isn't for me, but it's definitely for somebody. Now, if somebody wanted to grow and take the next steps in their journey with a machine like this, you could upgrade the grinder to something with more control or greater quality later on down the line. That would be my suggestion. Something you just couldn't do with a super automatic. And something that I thought was worth mentioning, Breville has incredible resources. And one of those resources is one I'll link down below that has dozens of free classes for both filter coffee and espresso. And you can learn so much on here, from recipes for, again, both filter and espresso, but foundations on coffee brewing and even guides on how to steam milk properly. This is a great resource, honestly, regardless of if you have a Breville machine or not. And so please check them out down below. Breville has gone into a lot of detail to provide this for their customers, but we can all benefit from them. So overall, I do like the Oracle. It does offer a lot of horsepower with options without overwhelming or confusing its user. This isn't the machine that would be my first choice, but it's not one that should be overlooked for somebody wanting a no-fuss espresso machine. Yes, this is an expensive espresso machine, so no, it's not for everybody. But Breville has a whole lineup of espresso machines, including things like the Breville Barista Pro, which has a lot of the same features without being a dual boiler. And in fact, I'll leave that link down below too if you want to check that one out. Now, I'd truly love to know what you think of the Oracle Touch. What do you love? What don't you love? Please drop a comment down below and I'll be responding to as many of those as possible. I'd love to hear your honest thoughts in the comments below. And while you're doing that, please leave a like and consider subscribing if you liked and enjoyed the content. I appreciate every single one of you. I love you all. I hope you're doing well. We will see you all in the next video. Peace.